Please tell me that's not boba sliding down my shirt. That was the first thing Caleb Brooks said to me after I basically attacked him with a 24-ounce brown sugar milk tea in the office elevator. And yeah, before you ask, it was absolutely boba sliding down his shirt. His white shirt. His very clean, probably expensive, definitely not from Target white shirt. I stood there with the empty plastic cup crushed in my hand, my laptop bag slipping off my shoulder, and my entire soul leaving my body somewhere between the 4th and 5th floor. Nobody moved. Not me. Not Caleb. Not the two interns behind him pretending they weren't watching the greatest disaster of their morning. A single tapioca pearl rolled across the elevator floor and stopped against his shoe. I wanted to die. Not dramatically. Practically. Like, if the elevator had opened into a hole in the ground, I would have stepped in and thanked it. I am so sorry, I blurted. I'm so sorry. I didn't see you. The door opened, and I was checking the pitch notes in my hand. God, your shirt. I can pay for dry cleaning. Or a new shirt. Or both. Actually, probably both. Caleb looked down at himself. Then at the cup. Then at me. His expression gave away nothing, which was somehow worse than anger. Caleb Brooks was our creative director, which meant he had the power to approve my work, crush my confidence, and possibly end my career before lunch. He was 31, calm in a way that made everyone else nervous, and had this annoying habit of looking at people like he already knew what they were trying to hide, including, apparently, panic. Ethan. My name sounded too steady in his mouth. Breathe. I tried. It came out like a broken printer. One of the interns made a tiny sound behind him. Caleb turned his head just slightly, and they both suddenly became very interested in the elevator buttons. I swallowed hard. My face was burning. My chest felt tight. I kept staring at the stains spreading across his shirt because looking at his face felt dangerous. Not because he was mad. Because he wasn't. That was the problem. He should have snapped at me. He should have asked what was wrong with me. Instead, he reached down, picked the little boba pearl off his shoe with a napkin from his pocket, and held it up between us like evidence. Is this part of the campaign strategy? I blinked. What? Bold. Unexpected. Sticky. The elevator doors opened. Nobody got out at first. I was still frozen, holding my dead drink like a murder weapon. Caleb stepped aside, his shoulder brushing mine for half a second. Barely anything. Still, my stomach dropped like an idiot. Come on, disaster. His voice lowered just enough that I wasn't sure the interns heard it. We have a client pitch in 20 minutes. Disaster. That should have hurt. It didn't. Which was concerning. I followed him out, apologizing under my breath the entire way while he walked through the office with milk tea on his shirt like it was completely normal. People stared. Of course they did. Marissa from accounts actually stopped mid-sip of her coffee. Caleb didn't explain. He didn't embarrass me. He just pointed toward the conference room and handed me the folder I hadn't even realized I'd dropped. His fingers brushed mine. Too long. Or maybe I imagined that part. I was probably imagining everything. He leaned closer, just enough for me to catch the clean smell of his cologne under all that sugar and tea. Relax, Ethan. I've survived worse Mondays. I nodded like a normal person. Then he looked at me again, mouth almost smiling. But next time, my throat went dry. Yeah. Get me taro. And that was the first time I realized Caleb Brooks wasn't going to fire me. Honestly, that might have been worse. By lunchtime, I had written 3 apology emails and deleted all of them because every version sounded like I was either begging for my job or confessing to a crime. The final one was still dramatic, but less dramatic, which felt like growth. Caleb, I am really sorry about this morning. I can cover the dry cleaning and replace the shirt if needed. I promise I am usually better at walking and holding liquids at the same time. I stared at that last sentence for a full minute, hated myself, then hit send before I could overthink it into something worse. For the next 11 minutes, nothing happened, which was enough time for me to imagine every possible outcome. Human resources. A formal warning. Caleb forwarding my email to the entire leadership team with the subject line, "Please keep beverages away from Ethan Miller." Then his reply popped up. One line. Stop apologizing. Also, next time get me taro. I read it twice. Then a third time. My chest did something stupid. Not a jump exactly. More like it forgot what its job was. I looked over the top of my monitor toward his office. Caleb was behind the glass wall, sleeves rolled up now, still wearing the stained shirt like it had personally offended him, but not enough to go home. He was talking to Marissa, pointing at a deck on his screen, completely calm. Like he had not ruined my nervous system with a 12-word email. You okay? Jonah from Strategy rolled his chair over, chewing on the end of a pen like a psychopath. You look like you just got subpoenaed. I shut the email too fast. I'm fine. You spilled a dessert drink on Caleb Brooks and lived. That is not fine. That is historic. Please stop talking. Did he yell? I shook my head. Jonah's eyebrows lifted. Worse. He told me to get him taro next time. Jonah stared at me for a second, then slowly grinned. Oh, he likes you. My stomach dropped. Do not say that. I mean professionally. You absolutely did not mean professionally. I tried to laugh it off, because that was safer. Caleb was my boss. I was 24, barely 6 months into the job, and still saved client feedback in folders labeled Final, Final 2, an actual final because I did not trust myself. Caleb Brooks did not like me. He tolerated me. Maybe he had a dry sense of humor. Maybe he enjoyed making nervous employees suffer gently. That was all. It had to be all. Around 3, I was at the printer fighting with a jammed stack of proposal pages when Caleb appeared beside me. I did not hear him walk up. He just existed there suddenly, close enough that my hand froze inside the paper tray. Careful, disaster. His voice was low, almost amused. That machine bites. I pulled my hand back so fast I hit my knuckles on the edge. Ow. Great. Good. Very normal. Caleb's mouth twitched. You always narrate your own injuries. Only in professional settings. He reached past me, opened the side panel, and tugged one sheet loose with annoying ease. His shoulder brushed mine. Barely. It still made my pulse kick. I stepped back too quickly and almost bumped into the recycling bin. Caleb glanced down, then back at me. Not teasing this time. Just watching. Like he noticed everything and was deciding what to do with it. You do not have to be scared of me, Ethan. That hit harder than it should have. I'm not scared of you. He lifted one eyebrow. I looked away first. Coward. Okay. Maybe a little. Instead of laughing, Caleb handed me the warm stack of pages. Our fingers touched around the corner of the paper. I expected him to let go. He did not. Not right away. For a second, the office noise faded into keyboards and distant phone calls, and all I could focus on was his hand against mine and the way his eyes stayed on my face. Then he released the pages. Good, he murmured. A little fear keeps disasters interesting. I had no idea what to say to that. Luckily, my brain saved me by offering nothing. Caleb started walking back to his office, then stopped halfway and turned. By the way, I looked up. Yeah. You take yours with 50% sugar, less ice, extra pearls, right? My throat went dry. How do you know that? He looked at me for 1 second too long. You left the evidence all over my shirt. Then he walked away like that was a normal answer. It was not. Because the next afternoon, when I came back from a meeting, there was a sealed cup of brown sugar milk tea sitting on my desk. Less ice, 50% sugar, extra pearls, and a sticky note in Caleb's handwriting. For the office safety program. Try not to weaponize this one. The bubble tea on my desk should have been the end of it. A funny little apology. A weird boss thing. Something I could laugh about later and pretend did not make me check my reflection in the dark part of my monitor like a complete idiot. But then it happened again. Friday afternoon, right before our weekly creative review, I walked into the conference room and found a drink waiting beside my chair. Same order. 50% sugar. Less ice. Extra pearls. This time there was no sticky note. Caleb did not look up from his laptop when I came in. He just tapped one finger against his own coffee cup and kept reading like he had not placed a tiny emotional landmine on the table. I sat down slowly. Is this mine? His eyes flicked up. Unless the printer developed taste. Jonah slid into the seat across from me and immediately noticed. Of course he noticed. Jonah noticed everything except deadlines. His grin started small and then became dangerous. Wait, did Caleb get you bubble tea again? I grabbed the cup too fast. It is probably for everyone. Marissa looked around the table. I do not have one. Me either, Jonah added, way too pleased with himself. Caleb finally closed his laptop halfway. The room quieted, not completely, but enough that my skin went hot. He looked at Jonah first. Calm. Deadly calm. Jonah, unless you want to present the client segmentation by yourself, I would stop investigating beverages. Jonah leaned back with both hands up, professionally stopping. Everyone laughed. I tried to laugh too, but it came out thin. My hand was wrapped around the cold plastic cup, and all I could think was that Caleb had noticed my order once, then remembered it, then repeated it. That was not normal. Or maybe it was. Maybe he did this kind of thing for people. Maybe I was turning a drink into a personality disorder. The meeting started. I barely heard the first 10 minutes. Caleb stood at the screen, walking through the pitch direction, sleeves rolled up, marker in one hand. He was sharp in meetings. Not loud, not flashy, just certain. The kind of certain that made people listen before realizing they had stopped breathing. Then he paused on one slide. My slide. "This insight is good," he said, pointing at the headline. "But it is buried." My stomach tightened on instinct. I opened my mouth to apologize. Caleb looked at me before I could. Just one look. Like a warning, but gentler. "Do not do that." So I shut my mouth. He adjusted the copy on the screen and nodded once. Better. Ethan caught the right emotional angle here. The room moved on. I did not. Praise from Caleb was rare enough to make people sit up. Praise with my name attached felt illegal. After the meeting, everyone scattered except me because I stayed behind to collect printouts and pretend I had a reason to breathe. Caleb erased the whiteboard beside me. The room smelled like dry marker and cold coffee. My bubble tea sat untouched on the table, ice melting slowly. "You did not drink it." I glanced at the cup. I was trying not to give Jonah more evidence. Caleb's hand paused against the board. For a second, I thought he would laugh. He did not. The silence stretched just a little too long. Then he turned to me. "Evidence of what?" My brain stopped. Completely stopped. "Nothing. Ethan." One word. Too calm. Too close to my name like that did something to me. I picked up the stack of papers and immediately dropped half of them. Smooth. Very smooth. I crouched down fast, but Caleb did too. And suddenly we were both reaching for the same page under the conference table. His fingers landed over mine. Not by much. Not enough to mean anything. But he did not move away. Neither did I. My pulse started hammering so hard I was sure it was embarrassing. His face was close now. Close enough for me to see the faint tiredness under his eyes. Close enough for the office outside the glass wall to feel very far away. Caleb looked at our hands, then at me. "You know," he murmured, "most people stop being nervous around me after a while." I swallowed. Maybe I am not most people. His thumb shifted slightly against the edge of the paper. It brushed my knuckle. Accidentally. Probably. I noticed. The air went still. I waited for him to smile, to make it a joke, to give me a way out. He did not. He just watched me like he had said exactly what he meant and was waiting to see if I would run from it. I almost did. Then someone laughed loudly outside the room, and both of us pulled back at the same time. Too fast. Too obvious. Caleb stood first, smoothing his expression back into something professional. I stayed crouched there for one extra second, holding a wrinkled printout like it could save me. Before he left, he picked up my bubble tea and set it gently in my hand. "Drink it before the ice melts, sweetest disaster." His voice was quiet enough for only me. This time, I could not pretend it was just a nickname. By Wednesday night, the office had turned into that specific kind of quiet that only happens after everyone stops pretending they are not exhausted. The overhead lights were too bright. The trash cans were full of takeout containers. Someone had left a half-dead salad in the kitchen sink, like a crime scene. The client pitch was 2 days away, and our deck still looked like it had been assembled by 5 people who hated each other. By 9:30, most of the team started disappearing one by one. Jonah left first, claiming he had a strategic headache. Marissa followed after sending Caleb a look that basically said, "Good luck with the children." Then it was just me and Caleb in the conference room, surrounded by printouts, laptops, empty coffee cups, and one bubble tea he had ordered for me without asking. Again, slide 26 is still weak, Caleb muttered, leaning back in his chair and rubbing both hands over his face. "The copy is trying too hard." That was my copy. His hands dropped. "I know." I stared at him. Wow. Brutal. For the first time all day, he actually smiled. Not the small professional one he used in meetings. A real one. Tired. Crooked. Kind of unfair. "You said you wanted honest feedback." I meant gentle honesty. Like lying, but with notes. He laughed under his breath, and something in my chest loosened before I could stop it. This was the version of Caleb nobody in the office really saw. Tie loosened. Sleeves shoved up. Hair slightly messed from running his fingers through it too many times. Less untouchable. More human. Worse somehow. We moved from the conference table to the floor because the pages were easier to spread out there. It should have felt ridiculous, sitting cross-legged beside my boss at almost 10 at night, arguing about font weight and emotional benefit statements. But after a while, it felt weirdly normal. Too normal. Caleb pointed at one headline. This one sounds like a toothpaste ad. I grabbed the page from him. It does not. Read it out loud. I did. Then immediately hated myself. Okay, maybe a little. A little. Fine. It sounds like toothpaste with childhood trauma. That got another laugh out of him. A quiet one. The kind that stayed low in his chest and made me look down too quickly. I told myself I was tired. That was all. Tired people notice things. Tired people made bad emotional decisions. Tired people thought their boss looked good sitting on a conference room floor under fluorescent lights. At some point, my eyes started burning from staring at slides too long. Caleb noticed before I said anything. Of course he did. He reached over and gently pulled the laptop closer to himself. Take a break. I'm fine. Ethan. There it was again. My name in that voice. Calm, but not cold. You have read the same sentence 4 times. Maybe I really like this sentence. You hate that sentence. I leaned back against the wall and let my head rest there. I hate this whole deck. Caleb glanced at me, softer now. No, you do not. You just hate being afraid it is not good enough. I went still. That was the annoying thing about him. He could make one observation and somehow hit something I had been trying not to look at. Is that your leadership style? My voice came out quieter than planned. Psychologically attacking junior employees after hours? Caleb's expression shifted. You are not just a junior employee. The room went silent. Not dramatic silent. Worse, real silent. The kind where the air changes and both people notice at the same time. I looked at him. He looked back. For once, neither of us reached for a joke fast enough. My pulse started climbing. What does that mean? Caleb opened his mouth, then stopped. His eyes dropped for half a second to my hand on the carpet between us. Close to his. Too close, maybe. He moved first, but not away. His fingers touched mine. Barely. Just the side of his index finger against mine, light enough that he could pretend it was an accident if he needed to. I should have moved. I did not. It means, he started, voice lower now. I notice you more than I probably should. My heart hit my ribs, so hard it almost hurt. I forgot how to answer. I forgot where we were. I forgot that outside the glass wall there was an entire office with security cameras and cleaners and probably common sense. His fingers shifted again, almost covering mine. Almost. Then the conference room door handle clicked. We pulled apart like we had been caught stealing. A night cleaner pushed the door open halfway, earbuds in, trash bag in hand. Oh, sorry. Did not know anyone was still in here. Caleb stood too fast, smoothing his shirt like that would erase whatever had just happened. No problem. We are wrapping up. We were not. Not even close. The cleaner left, and the door shut behind him with a soft click. I stayed on the floor, staring at the scattered pages because looking at Caleb felt impossible. My hand still tingled where his fingers had touched mine. Probably from nerves. Probably from lack of sleep. Probably from every excuse I could find that was not the obvious one. Caleb crouched in front of me and picked up one page, but his eyes stayed on my face. Ethan. I forced myself to look up. For a second, I thought he might finish the sentence. I notice you more than I probably should. I thought he might explain it. Take it back. Make it safe. Instead, his jaw tightened slightly, like he was fighting himself. You should go home. That hurt more than it should have. I nodded quickly, because pride was all I had left. Yeah, sure. I packed my bag with hands that did not feel steady. Caleb did not stop me. He only walked me to the elevator, quiet the whole way. When the doors opened, I stepped inside and turned around. He stood there in the hall, one hand in his pocket, face unreadable again. Professional again. Safe again. I hated it. Right before the doors closed, he reached forward and put his hand against the edge, holding them open for one more second. His eyes locked on mine. For what it is worth, he murmured, I was not going to pull away. Then he let the doors close, and I stood alone in the elevator with my heart pounding and no idea what I was supposed to do with that. The next morning, I told myself I had misunderstood everything. That was easier than admitting Caleb Brooks had touched my hand in an empty conference room and then told me he was not going to pull away. Easier, but not believable. I slept maybe 3 hours. By the time I got to the office, I had convinced myself to act normal, which lasted exactly 4 minutes. Caleb was already in his office, standing near the glass wall with his phone against his ear. He looked up when I walked past. Just looked. Not smiled. Not nodded. Just held my eyes long enough that I nearly missed my own desk. Great. Very normal. Jonah noticed before I even sat down. You look haunted. I dropped my bag beside my chair. Good morning to you too. No, seriously. Did the deck start talking to you? I opened my laptop and avoided his face. Long night. Jonah rolled closer, lowering his voice like that had ever stopped him from being obvious. Long night with Caleb? My fingers froze on the keyboard. 1 second. Maybe less. But Jonah saw it. His grin faded into something sharper. Wait. Do not. Ethan. I said do not. He leaned back, studying me. For once, he was not joking. People are starting to notice, you know. My stomach dropped. Notice what? That he treats you different. I laughed too fast. He does not. Jonah gave me a look. He bought you bubble tea 3 times. Caleb once told me caffeine was not a personality and then made me rewrite a campaign over lunch. That is because your campaign was bad. It was emotionally ambitious. I tried to focus on my screen, but the words blurred. Across the office, Caleb was still on the phone, one hand in his pocket, expression calm. Professional. Untouchable. Exactly how he was supposed to look. Exactly how he looked before making my heart a problem. Jonah's voice softened. I am not trying to mess with you. That made it worse. Then do not. I just mean, be careful. My throat tightened. I hated that sentence. Be careful. It made everything sound real. Like there was something to protect. Like there was something to ruin. Before I could answer, Marissa walked by with a stack of folders and paused at my desk. Ethan, Caleb wants you in the 10:30 client prep. I blinked. I am already in that meeting. No, I mean he wants you presenting the consumer insights section. My chest tightened so fast I almost forgot to breathe. What? Jonah whistled under his breath. Marissa gave him a warning look, then turned back to me. You wrote it. He thinks you should own it. She walked away like she had not just kicked a chair out from under my nervous system. Jonah looked between me and Caleb's office. See, that is work. Sure, it is. Okay. He turned back to his desk, but the word hung there like he had underlined it. Sure. By 10:30, I was sweating through my shirt and pretending to revise notes I already knew. The prep meeting was crowded. Strategy, accounts, design, Caleb at the head of the table. I sat 2 chairs down from him, careful not to look too often, careful not to seem too aware. Careful, careful, careful. Halfway through, Marissa challenged one of my points. Not mean exactly, just sharp. Are we sure Ethan should be the one presenting this? The client can be aggressive. I do not want them thinking we sent the new guy into traffic. A couple people chuckled. My face got hot. I opened my mouth to agree because that was easier. Because apologizing before anyone blamed me was basically muscle memory. Caleb did not let me. Ethan is presenting it. The room quieted. His tone was not loud. It did not need to be. He found the angle. He understands it better than anyone here. I stared at the table. My heart was doing something awful. Something hopeful. Marissa nodded slowly. Okay, just checking. Caleb moved on, but I could feel the shift in the room. Not huge. Not open. Just enough. A few glances. Jonah's eyebrows from across the table. Someone from design looking down to hide a smile. And suddenly Caleb defending me did not feel like protection. It felt like evidence. After the meeting, I escaped to the pantry because apparently I now handled emotions by hiding near stale granola bars. I had just filled a paper cup with water when Caleb walked in. Of course. He stopped when he saw me. The small room felt instantly smaller. You did well in there. I gripped the cup too tight. I barely talked. You did not apologize. That hit closer than praise. I looked at him, and for a second his expression softened in a way that made the whole morning hurt. Caleb, people are noticing. His face changed. Not much. Enough. Jonah. I looked away. That was answer enough. Caleb exhaled quietly and stepped back, putting more space between us than there had been. I hated that I noticed. I hated that I missed the closeness before it was even gone. Then I need to be more careful. There it was again. Careful. Like a door closing softly. I nodded because I did not trust my voice. Yeah, probably. Caleb's jaw tightened, but he did not argue. He just glanced at the cup in my hand, then back at me. I never wanted to make things harder for you. I forced a small smile. You did not. Lie. Total lie. He knew it too. For a second, I thought he might say something. Instead, he gave one short nod and left the pantry. No joke, no nickname, no disaster. And somehow, that silence felt worse than any rumor could have. I lasted until 5:30 before I did the thing I promised myself I would not do. I checked Caleb's office. Not obviously. I was not standing there with binoculars like a creep. I just happened to walk past the glass wall 3 times with absolutely no reason to be on that side of the floor. The first time, he was on a call. The second, he was typing. The third, his office was empty. That should have made me feel better. It did not. All day, he had been careful. Painfully careful. No nickname. No bubble tea. No quiet comments beside my desk. In meetings, he spoke to me the same way he spoke to everyone else. Professional. Clear. Distant. Exactly what I had said we probably needed. Turns out, getting what you ask for can feel terrible. By 6, most people were packing up. Jonah gave me one last look over his monitor, the kind that said he wanted to ask questions but had finally developed fear. "Do not stay too late," he muttered. "You always say that like I have hobbies. Get some." He slung his bag over his shoulder. "Maybe ones that do not involve your boss." My face went hot. Jonah. Leaving. Being mature. Look at me growing. He disappeared before I could throw a stress ball at him. I stayed because the insight section still needed tightening, and because going home meant sitting alone with everything Caleb was not saying. Around 7, I went to the kitchen for water and saw him through the hallway window. Caleb was in the small client lounge near the elevators. Not alone. He was with a guy I recognized from the morning prep call. Mason Reed, the client's brand director. Tall, confident, expensive watch, smile like he practiced it in reflective surfaces. Mason laughed at something and touched Caleb's arm. Just for a second. Caleb did not move away. My stomach dropped so fast it made me feel ridiculous. I had no right. None. Caleb was not mine. He was not even almost mine. We had touched hands on a conference room floor and then got scared. That was not a relationship. That was barely a problem with lighting. Still, I stood there like an idiot, watching them through the glass until Caleb looked up. Our eyes met. Mason was still talking. Caleb's expression shifted, just slightly. I turned away first. Coward move. Classic Ethan. I went back to my desk and pretended to work for another hour, which mostly meant rereading the same sentence while imagining Caleb and Mason getting drinks, laughing, existing in some normal adult world where nobody spilled bubble tea on anyone. I was packing up when Caleb appeared at the end of my row. His jacket was over one arm, tie loose, face unreadable. Still here, I shoved my laptop into my bag. Obviously, Ethan. I hated how my name still worked on me. What? It came out sharper than I meant. His eyebrows lifted. Not angry, just caught. Did I do something? I laughed once, quiet and fake. No. You have been very careful. The words landed between us. Caleb glanced toward the empty desks, then back at me. Conference room. I was actually leaving. 5 minutes. I should have said no. I followed him anyway. The room was dark except for the city lights through the windows. Caleb did not turn on the overheads. Smart. Those lights made everyone look guilty. He closed the door, then stayed near it like he was making sure I had space. That was Mason. I folded my arms. Okay. He is the client. I know who he is. Caleb watched me for a second too long. Not my date. My throat went dry. I looked away because apparently jealousy was easier to feel than survive. I did not say he was. No, but you looked like you wanted to throw a stapler at him. I almost smiled. Almost. Maybe I cared deeply about office supplies. The corner of his mouth moved, but the smile did not last. He stepped closer. Not much. Enough that my pulse noticed. I was not flirting with him. You do not have to explain that to me. I think I do. The room went quiet. My arms slowly loosened because I did not know what to do with them anymore. Caleb looked tired. Not work tired. The other kind. Like he had been holding a line all day and hated every second of it. I tried today, he admitted. To keep it clean. Professional. Normal. My chest tightened. That is probably good. It felt awful. I stopped breathing for half a second. Caleb ran a hand through his hair, messing it up in a way I should not have noticed. I did not like watching you avoid me. I did not like calling on you in a meeting like you were just another name on an agenda. And I really did not like not calling you disaster. That should have been funny. It was not. Not with the way he said it. Low. Careful. Too honest. Caleb. I know. He nodded once, like he was answering every warning before I could say it. I know I am your boss. I know this is complicated. I know people are already talking. That is why I stepped back. His eyes held mine. But I need you to understand something. I was not joking that night. My fingers tightened around the strap of my bag. About what? His gaze dropped briefly to my hand, then lifted again. About noticing you more than I should. The air left the room. Or maybe just my lungs. He moved one step closer, then stopped himself. Like even now, he was letting me choose the distance. I do notice you, Ethan. Your work. Your coffee order. The way you apologize before you take up space. The way you get quiet when you are hurt and sarcastic when you are scared. My chest ached in a way I did not know what to do with. You make that sound bad. It is inconvenient. A small, helpless smile touched his mouth. It is not bad. Neither of us moved. Outside the glass wall, the office was empty. Inside, everything felt too close. Caleb's voice softened. I do not want to go back to pretending I do not care. My heart was pounding now. Loud. Stupid. Hopeful. And what if caring makes everything worse? He looked at me like the question hurt because he had already asked himself the same thing. Then we go slow. His hand lifted slightly, not reaching for me yet. Just there. An offer. And we stay honest. I looked at his hand, then at him. For once, I did not run from the silence. I reached out first, just enough for my fingers to touch his. Caleb exhaled like he had been waiting all day. He did not grab my hand, did not pull me closer. He just let his fingers curl gently around mine. Warm, steady, real. For the record, he murmured, eyes still on me. I did not hate it when you got jealous. My face burned instantly. I was not jealous. Caleb's thumb brushed lightly against my knuckle. Sure, disaster. And this time, when he said it, neither of us pretended it meant nothing. For about 12 hours, I let myself believe we had figured something out. Not solved it. Not made it easy. We did not kiss. We did not make some dramatic hallway confession. We just stood there with our hands, almost touching, both of us smiling like idiots who had survived a meeting we were not supposed to be in. Right before the doors opened, he looked at me and murmured, "Go home before I make another bad professional decision." I should have been embarrassed by how hard that sentence stayed with me. Instead, I replayed it all night. I replayed his hand around mine, his thumb against my knuckle. The way he had said, I do not want to go back to pretending I do not care. By morning, I was running on 4 hours of sleep and dangerous hope. Dangerous because hope makes you notice things. Dangerous because when I got to my desk, there was no bubble tea. Not that there had to be. Obviously, Caleb was not my personal drink delivery service. Also, we had literally just talked about being careful. So I sat down, opened my laptop, and told myself I was normal. Then Jonah dropped into the chair beside me with 2 coffees and a face I immediately hated. Something happened. I took 1 coffee. Good morning to you too. No, I know your face. My face is tired. Your face is guilty. I sipped the coffee, burned my tongue, suffered with dignity. Your campaign concept is guilty. Low blow. He leaned closer, voice lowering. Did Caleb talk to you last night? My hand tightened around the cup. That was enough. Jonah's expression changed from nosy to concerned way too fast. Ethan, it is nothing. That is exactly what people say when it is not nothing. I looked toward Caleb's office. Empty. His blinds were half closed, which was weird because he never closed them unless he was on a client call or quietly destroying someone's work. Where is he? Jonah followed my gaze. Caleb? In a leadership meeting, I think. That should have been fine. Except 20 minutes later, Marissa walked by and mentioned something about leadership reviewing team structure after the pitch. Nothing dramatic, she added, balancing folders against her hip. Just making sure reporting lines are clean before the client expands the account. Clean reporting lines. My stomach dropped. It was stupid how fast my brain built the worst version. Caleb regretted it. Caleb talked to leadership. Caleb decided the smart thing was to move me off his team before anything could become real. By 11, I had turned one phrase into a full emotional crime scene. Then Caleb finally came back. He walked past my desk, phone in hand, jacket over one arm. Our eyes met. For 1 second, his face softened. Then he looked away because Marissa was beside him asking about budget revisions. He did not stop, did not smile, did not say my name. No disaster. Nothing. It should not have hurt. It did. I spent the next hour acting like a person with a spine, which meant I edited speaker notes while feeling like my chest had been packed with wet cement. When Caleb sent a meeting invite titled Pitch Final Review, just me and him, I stared at it for so long Jonah rolled his chair over and whispered, "Please blink." I accepted, because apparently I wanted answers and also enjoyed paying. At 2, I walked into Caleb's office with my laptop hugged to my chest like armor. He was standing at his desk, reading through printed slides. The blinds were open now, but the room still felt too quiet. Close the door. My pulse jumped. I did it, then instantly regretted how private that made everything feel. Caleb looked up, and the tiredness in his eyes hit me before anything else. "You okay?" I almost laughed. "Are you?" His brow tightened. "What does that mean?" "Nothing. Ethan." There it was. My name. Soft enough to hurt. I put my laptop down harder than necessary. "Are you moving me off your team?" Caleb went still. Not confused for long. Just long enough for me to feel stupid. "What?" "Marissa said something about clean reporting lines, and you were in leadership, and then you walked past me like I was furniture. So yeah, I am asking." The words came out too fast. Too honest. My face burned by the end of them. Caleb stared at me for a second, then set the slides down carefully. "I walked past you because our chief financial officer was behind me and Marissa was asking about a $2 million account." "Great. That sounds reasonable. And I am not moving you off my team." My throat tightened. "Okay. But I did bring up a possible second reviewer for your work." The floor tilted a little. "So you are distancing yourself." "I am protecting you." "That sounds the same from over here." Caleb's jaw flexed. He moved around the desk, but stopped before he got too close. "I noticed." "Of course I noticed. If people think I am giving you special treatment, it hurts you first, not me. And what if I do not want to be handled like a problem?" His expression shifted. "You are not a problem. Then why does it feel like you are already apologizing for me?" The silence after that was ugly. Not loud, just sharp. Caleb looked down, rubbing his thumb against the edge of his watch like he was trying to keep himself steady. "Because I am scared," he admitted. That shut me up. He looked back at me, and whatever professional wall he had been holding all day cracked just enough for me to see the mess behind it. "I am scared I will make one wrong move, and you will be the one people judge. I am scared you will think I used my position to pull you into something. I am scared that I want to stand too close to you even when I know better." My chest hurt. I hated that his fears sounded like care. I hated that mine did too. "I thought you regretted it," I whispered. Caleb's face softened completely. "Last night." I nodded once. He stepped closer then, slow enough that I could have stopped him. "I did not. Ethan, the only thing I regret is letting you walk into this office today, thinking I was done feeling it." My breath caught. His hand lifted, then dropped again before touching me. "Still careful. Still trying. But we have to get through tomorrow. The pitch. The team. The rumors. All of it." I looked at him for a long second. "So we go back to normal." His mouth tightened. No, the answer came fast. Too fast to be polished. "We go slow. There is a difference." I wanted to believe him. I did believe him. That was the scary part. Then a knock hit the door, and both of us stepped back like the room had burned us. Marissa opened it halfway. "Sorry. Client just moved the pitch up. Tomorrow morning, 9 sharp." Caleb's eyes stayed on me for half a second before he turned professional again. "We will be ready." Marissa left. The door clicked shut. Neither of us moved. Caleb picked up the slide deck and handed it to me, his fingers brushing mine just once. Tiny. Careful. Still enough to make my pulse jump. "Tomorrow morning," he murmured. "You take the room." I swallowed. "And after?" His eyes held mine. Not hiding this time. Just waiting. "After, we talk about what slow actually means." I walked back to my desk with the deck in my hands and my heart still pounding. For the first time all day, Caleb did not feel gone. But he did feel dangerous. Not because he was careless. Because he cared enough to step back, and I was starting to understand that stepping back could hurt just as much as leaving. The pitch should have been the hard part. That was what I told myself walking into the client conference room at 8:57 with my laptop under one arm and my heart trying to escape through my throat. The room was already full. Mason was there with 2 people from his team, all expensive jackets and unreadable faces. Marissa had her notes lined up like she was preparing for trial. Jonah gave me a tiny thumbs up from across the table, which somehow made me more nervous. Caleb stood near the screen, calm as ever, but when I took my seat, he placed a sealed bubble tea beside my notebook. No sticky note. No joke. Just the drink. Less ice. 50% sugar. Extra pearls. I looked up at him. He did not smile. Not really. He only tapped the lid once, like a quiet reminder. You have got this. And somehow, I believed him. The first half of the pitch went clean. Caleb opened. Marissa handled budgets. Jonah made people laugh without ruining anything, which was a miracle. Then my slide came up. My hands went cold. I stood, adjusted the clicker, and felt every eye in the room land on me. My first instinct was to apologize before even speaking. Sorry, this might be rough. Sorry, I am new. Sorry, please do not expect too much. But Caleb was watching from the end of the table. Not rescuing me. Not stepping in. Just watching like he already knew I could do it. So I did. I talked through the insight. I explained the emotional angle. Mason challenged one point, sharp enough that my stomach dipped, but I did not fold. I answered. Then I backed it up. The room went quiet in that good way. The listening way. When I finished, Mason leaned back and nodded. That is the first thing today that actually feels human. I sat down before my knees could embarrass me. Caleb did not praise me out loud. He did not need to. His eyes found mine across the table, and for 1 second, everything else blurred. That look was worse than a compliment. By noon, the client had approved the direction. The office turned loud the second they left. People clapped. Jonah actually spun in his chair. Marissa smiled like she had personally survived a war. Someone opened sparkling water because we were not classy enough for champagne at work. Everyone kept saying we did it. We did it. We did it. But all I could feel was Caleb standing on the other side of the room, quiet, one hand in his pocket, watching me like he was trying not to cross over. That was when I knew I was done. Done pretending. Done letting careful mean silent. Done acting like the only safe version of us was one where nothing happened and both of us slowly went insane. I grabbed my bubble tea off the table and walked past him toward the small balcony outside the break room. It was cold, but I needed air. Seattle was gray and damp, because of course it was. Below us, traffic moved through wet streets, and somewhere behind me, the office kept celebrating. The door opened a few seconds later. I did not turn around. I knew it was him. You disappeared. His voice was close, but not too close. Careful again. Always careful. I took a breath. I am getting tired of that word. A pause. Disappeared. Careful. The city noise filled the space between us. When I finally looked back, Caleb was standing with one hand on the door handle like he was still giving himself the option to leave. Or giving me the option to ask him to. I hated that. I hated how much I liked it too. Ethan. No, my voice shook a little, but I kept going. Let me say it first, because if you do, you will make it sound reasonable. His hand dropped from the handle. He stayed quiet. I looked down at my drink, at the little black pearls settled at the bottom, and almost laughed because this whole thing had started with sugar on his shirt and panic in an elevator. I like you. The words came out plain. Small. Terrifying. Caleb did not move. My chest tightened. And I know it is complicated. I know you are my boss. I know people talk. I know this could get messy, and I know we have to be smart about it. But I cannot keep acting like it is just bubble tea and bad jokes and late nights at work. My throat burned. I forced myself to look at him. Because it is not just that for me. Caleb's face changed slowly. Like relief hurt. Like hearing it out loud knocked something loose in him. It is not just that for me either. So simple. No speech. No perfect line. Just that. My breath caught anyway. He stepped closer, then stopped with a few feet between us. Still letting me choose. I have been trying to find the version of this that does not put pressure on you. His voice was low, rougher than usual. But every version where I pretend I do not feel it feels like lying to you. I swallowed. Then stopped lying. The corner of his mouth moved, but his eyes stayed serious. Okay. One word. It landed harder than anything else. I set the bubble tea on the small metal table because my hands were not steady. Caleb noticed. Of course he noticed. He reached out slowly, palm open, not grabbing. Waiting. I looked at his hand for a second. Then I took it. His fingers closed around mine, warm and careful and real. Neither of us spoke right away. We just stood there, office noise muffled behind the door, holding hands like it was both the smallest thing in the world and the thing that changed everything. We go slow, Caleb murmured. Real slow. I nodded. With rules. With rules. And no weird favoritism. You were in that room today, Ethan. My face warmed, but this time I did not look away. And no calling me disaster in serious meetings. Caleb's thumb brushed once over my knuckle. Can I call you disaster outside serious meetings? I should have rolled my eyes. I did, a little, but I was smiling. Maybe. His gaze dropped to our hands, then back to my face. For what it is worth, you were never a disaster to me. That almost did me in. Not because it was big, because it was quiet, because he meant it. The break room door opened behind us, and both of us stepped apart fast, but not before Jonah saw our hands. He froze halfway outside, holding a paper plate with a sad grocery store cupcake on it. His eyes moved from me to Caleb, then back to me. I was going to ask if you wanted cake. My entire body went hot. Caleb, somehow, looked almost amused. Jonah slowly backed into the office. You know what? Cake can wait. The door closed. Silence. Then Caleb looked at me. I looked at him. And for the first time all week, we both laughed. Jonah did not say anything about what he saw on the balcony. Not right away, anyway. He just avoided eye contact for the rest of the afternoon, which for Jonah was basically a medical emergency. Every time he looked like he wanted to explode with questions, Marissa would walk by or Caleb would step out of his office, and Jonah would suddenly become fascinated with spreadsheets. I should have been terrified. Part of me was. But another part of me felt weirdly calm. Not because everything was easy now. It was not. Caleb and I still had rules to figure out. Real ones. Work rules. Boundaries. What happened next? What did not happen at work? What we would tell people, and when, and how. But for the first time since that elevator, I did not feel like I was holding my breath alone. Around 5, the team decided to go out for tacos to celebrate landing the pitch. Usually, I would have found an excuse to disappear. Too tired. Too much work. Maybe next time. But Caleb looked across the office at me, not in a secret way. Just a quiet question. You coming? I looked at Jonah, who was pretending not to watch us while absolutely watching us. Then I nodded. Yeah, I am coming. The taco place was 3 blocks away, warm and loud, with neon signs in the window and a line nearly out the door. We took over 2 small tables pushed together in the back. Jonah sat beside me. Marissa argued with someone from design about whether pineapple belonged on tacos. Caleb ended up across from me at first, because of course the universe still had a sense of humor. For the first 20 minutes, nothing happened. We ate. We talked about the client. Jonah spilled salsa on his sleeve and called it brand immersion. I laughed so hard my shoulders finally loosened. It felt normal. Almost. Then someone left to grab extra napkins. Chairs shifted, and Caleb moved into the empty seat beside me without making a big deal out of it. No announcement. No dramatic pause. Just sat down, knee close to mine under the table. Not touching. Close enough that I knew he was there. Close enough that I did not have to wonder if he wanted to be. Jonah noticed. Obviously. His eyes dropped under the table, then back to my face. I waited for the joke. The eyebrow wiggle. The whispered chaos. Instead, he lifted his soda slightly toward me. Small. Quiet. Like approval without making me survive a speech. It hit me harder than I expected. Caleb leaned closer, voice low enough for only me. You okay? I looked at him. Really looked. Same calm eyes. Same careful mouth. But there was something different now. He was not hiding from me. Not completely. Yeah. My voice came out steady. I think I am. Under the table, his hand rested near mine on the bench between us. Not grabbing. Not pushing. Just there. An option. My heart started doing that stupid thing again, but this time I did not panic. I slid my fingers over until they touched his. Caleb went still for half a second. Then his hand turned, and our fingers linked. Simple. Quiet. Hidden by the edge of the table, maybe, but not denied. That was the difference. He did not pull away when Jonah reached across us for hot sauce. I did not pull away when Marissa asked me about the next campaign. We just kept sitting there, hands together between us, while the world kept being normal around us. And somehow, that made it feel bigger. Later, outside the restaurant, the air smelled like rain and traffic. Everyone split off in different directions. Jonah gave me a look like he was saving all his questions for a time when I was emotionally weaker, then walked toward the parking garage. Marissa waved down a rideshare. Caleb and I ended up standing near the curb, shoulder to shoulder, the city shining wet around us. For a second, neither of us spoke. I liked that. The silence did not feel scary anymore. So, Caleb murmured, no serious meetings. I glanced at him. What? His mouth curved. You said I cannot call you disaster in serious meetings. I rolled my eyes, but I was already smiling. That is what you want to talk about right now. It is an important boundary. You are impossible. Probably. He looked down at our hands. This time, they were not touching yet. This time, I reached first. In public. On the sidewalk. With cars passing and people walking by and no conference room door to hide behind. Caleb looked at our joined hands, then at me. Something soft moved across his face. Not surprise exactly. More like relief. Is this slow enough? I asked. His thumb brushed once over mine. Yeah. A pause. It is real enough too. That stayed with me. Real enough. Not perfect. Not easy. Not wrapped up like a movie where nobody has human resources paperwork or office gossip or fear. But real. We did not kiss under the streetlights. We did not make some huge promise neither of us was ready to explain. Caleb just walked me to my bus stop with his hand in mine, and when my bus pulled up, he did not let go until the last possible second. Text me when you get home, he asked. That sounds very bossy. Not as your boss. My chest warmed. Then yeah, I will. I stepped onto the bus, found a seat by the window, and looked back. Caleb was still there on the sidewalk, hands in his coat pockets now, watching like he was trying not to smile too much. My phone buzzed before the bus even pulled away. A message from him. No nickname. No overthinking. Just 3 words. Proud of you. In the way two people can stand at the edge of something complicated and still choose to be gentle with each other. I thought I had ruined Caleb Brooks's shirt. Maybe I did. But somehow, in the middle of that mess, I found the first person who looked at my disaster and did not step back. He stayed. And this time, so did I.